You're welcome to Let's Talk.
We sit down and talk. We need to sit down and talk. How Nigeria should go, how we're going to do our job.
We want to stand up and say no to corruption. We're going to do our job because you're telling the system you are not just doing good for yourself or for the nation alone, you're also doing good for the future.
Boko Haram is an attack, it's a spiritual attack. It's a satanic attack on Nigeria. We must, if we come to recognize it, we will understand then how to look for the solution.
The Sovereign National Conference, how do we want to achieve that in our present system? We need to sit down and iron out how Nigeria should be governed.
Hello viewers, well, welcome to Let's Talk. My name is Henry Williams, and with me I have a guest as usual. His name is Mr. Michael Adedeji. He's a business entrepreneur, industrialist, and public policy analyst. Welcome to the show, sir. It's
Thank
a
you very
pleasure
much.
to have you in our studios.
Thank you very much.
Okay, welcome, sir. We go right straight to the topic of the day. The Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, in charge of financial sector of surveillance, Kingsley Moghalu, at the weekend expressed fears that the national external reserves may suffer from the twin effects of the declining oil price at the international crude oil markets. And that is the situation on ground. On that backdrop, that we'll be talking about the declining world oil prices and Nigeria's economy. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
And let's talk.
That's no problem at all.
All right. All right. My first question is, analysts have said with the continual decline of oil prices in the international market, and recently oil prices have dropped by 20% now for Nigeria, peaking at $127 per barrel in mid-March. Now, what is the implication of this for Nigeria?
Well, for Nigeria, the implication is that the economy of Nigeria, or the budget of Nigeria, was predicated on a certain level of oil price. And if it drops, it changes the barometer. So the problem is that Nigeria will have to find ways of making up for that decline. And like any other country, we have other resources. We are not forever going to remain a monoproduct economy. And this is exactly a lesson for our government. You know that oil is volatile. The price of oil will go up and will come down. And then it depends on the demand factor. So, you know, this is exactly what has been happening.
And coupled with the fact that we've had discoveries in other nations.
Yes, of course.
Like Canada.
You should expect that, because
Brazil,
yes, Brazil, you have Canada, you have Ghana.
In Africa, we have Ghana.
Yeah, and there may be many more coming. So if Nigeria will forever remain a monoproduct economy, well, our leaders will have something else to think about, because this is not supposed to be so.
So apparently we are paying the price for negligence of the other sectors.
Yes, what we should have done years ago, we didn't do it, and that's what the price we are paying now. But it's still not too late.
Okay.
It's not too late for the government to do it. Okay. Recently, they said the federal government, through the Minister of Finance, said they are creating 370,000 jobs.
All right.
Beautiful. The woman is good, doing good. The federal government has done great. But that's not the way to do it. That's not the way to do it. If you create jobs that does not add value to the economy, you are not doing anything for the economy. Instead of diversifying the economy, going through to the agricultural sector, creating the enabling environment for the agriculture, creating the enabling environment for small-scale and medium-scale industries, we are creating jobs for people to go and sweep the road. Okay. And we add more to the numbers of the employees of the federal government. To do what?
So in short, it's the federal government that is just employing the labor, and
you are employing them. You are giving them jobs that had no meaning. You are training people without empowering them. Okay. You know, you should train people and empower them. We are suggesting, and we are going to suggest another means of this training they are talking about. Training is good.
Okay.
It's a beautiful thing. I must commend the people at the helm of affairs Because we, outside, when we criticize them, they will think, okay, if you are there, will you be able to do better? Maybe we'll be able to do better. Maybe we cannot do more than they do. But the most important thing is for them to listen. Listen to the people who are criticizing and pick up the things that are good there. Okay. I don't criticize destructively. I want to criticize constructively. So, you know, the government should do something. What we have not done in the past is what we are suffering now. Our negligence of yesterday is what we are reaping now.
Now, okay, so the budget now is based on a projection of oil price of at least $75 per barrel. Yeah. Now, if eventually if it drops below that, we know there's trouble. There's a trouble looming right now. Do you think the central bank has a role to play in trying to make sure that they can assuage or shore up things to prevent this, let's say, catastrophe?
They have, but it's not something that you can be discussing.
Okay, what role do you think the central bank can do to minimize, you know, the impact of this risk, actually, to reduce the risk, rather?
At the moment, the central bank strategists will have to think about where, you know, the government expenditure.
Okay.
The budget for the government expenditure is too much. Let me go straight to one point there. You see, we have adopted a political system in Nigeria that is not befitting.
Very, very expensive.
It's too expensive. It's too expensive. What our political leaders are only interested in how much they will take. They want to line their pocket. That's why we have adopted such a system. We're probably paying more than they're paying any minister in America. We are paying more for our ministers here. We are paying more for the legislators here. And for heaven's sake, I dare not read them at the moment.
Okay, because I'm sure you must have some friends in the system too. Well, the question is that the Jonathan administration has promised to look at the profligacy and try to reduce it and make it more, the system, the government more manageable and less expensive. But now, President has been receiving knocks. Now, we receive an award now for being the country that takes the highest delegation to another country. We're talking about 115 people. Even the U.S. president right now doesn't travel that way.
That's right.
So how do we curb? How does the central bank help to advise and
it's not the central bank, it's the federal government itself. If you are taking 115 delegates to another country when your economy is very poor, when your country is in turmoil, I think we need to think twice. We need to rethink. That's the government has to rethink. Those people, the think tank. You know, sometimes every one of us blame Jonathan. Jonathan is this, Jonathan is that. The advisors, what are they doing? Why are they sitting down there and allowing these things to happen and ruining the country? You know, people will look down on our country when we do such a thing like that. It's not an evidence of affluence. It's an evidence to stupidity when we do things that way. So it's not Mr. Jonathan, it's not Mr. President, it's the people advising him. If I'm very sure, because he's an intelligent person, I'm very sure if he had been advised rightly, why are you taking 150? What are they going to do there? What's their job?
Okay, let's talk more figures now. Economists rather have indicated that the internal borrowing power of the government will be reduced, thereby constituting a risk to the international debt profile. What is the relationship between these two, internal borrowing and the external debt profile, for the layman right now, because that is why we are here, to educate.
Internal borrowing is, you know, the money you borrow. For instance, you borrow money from the Nigerian Stock Exchange. You go and borrow. The federal government issues a bond out. That's internal borrowing. The money you borrow from within the country, from the nationals of the country, from the companies and corporate body entities. That's internal borrowing. External borrowing,
like Lagos State raised a bond.
Lagos State raised a bond. The federal government raises the bond. The central government raises the bond, and even I think local governments are trying to raise bonds in Nigeria now. So that's the internal borrowing. But the capacity of that. If it declines, where do you get money? You go out to borrow money, and at the moment, your profile is not that good. So we have a problem.
Profile doesn't speak well.
Doesn't speak well. But it was external borrowing. We have actually suggested something, and I think the government is considering it. We suggested that we should be able to discount to buy the promissory notes of the sovereign debts from the international market. It will help us a little bit, and that's DMO's problem. We'll be talking to DMO to see if they can receive it. And the Minister of Finance had indicated their interest to receive and listen to it. So I think Nigeria may, that's the borrowing thing, it can be recirculated. You can reduce what you have borrowed by bringing the promissory notes, redeeming it in Nigeria, allowing the money to be in Nigeria, so it will show up what we have here.
Some people have shared the view that, our external reserves, rather, being outside the country when development is at the lowest ebb right now, it's not a good way to go, because there are things to be done. Money being kept there just for nothing, when there are projects that could bring about development, create jobs. You're an entrepreneur.
It's a normal thing that the government should have external reserves. Yeah, they must have it. As I've said, these people are intelligent people. The government must have external reserve. Otherwise, the whole world will look down on you. You don't have anything. You don't have any fallback. If you look at a country like America, not only America is the greatest debtor in the world. The greatest debtor in the world, and yet they are the richest country in the world. It's a paradox.
So that is a paradox.
It's a paradox that you really have to think about. And we can do the same thing. We owe, but we should also create. There should be the other hand, other way around.
The other end.
Yeah.
All right, it's a give and take issue. Now, look, the decline in the oil price, indirectly affects the monetary control policy. Through inflation, and you are an entrepreneur. You are more like an industrialist. We can call you the real sector of the economy. Now, do you think the industries can weather the challenge that this poses to the economy, considering?
The industries on their own cannot weather this challenge. We have to work hand in hand with the federal government, with the central bank, and with the banks in Nigeria to be able to weather the storm. It's going to be a storm. And definitely, if all hands are not on deck, Nigeria will suffer a lot. You see, what we should concentrate on, which I've said before, is diversification of the industry, of the economy. Now, the small-scale and medium-scale industry should be helped to absorb people, to give employment to people, to be productive. We should think of backward integration. The things we need to do to make our industries real in Nigeria. We should think of that. We should think of import substitution. We have very many products that we import to Nigeria that we can make in Nigeria. Those are the areas that I think the government should be able to help the industries to realize what they want. The infrastructural development of this economy is not good enough. They should pursue it with vigor. I don't think we should have waited till this